hands and toes, we pop champagne tonight for showing improvement. Like nigga ain't no participation trip, so you better get to it. I hop on deep sick, write the whole script right now, so I'm making a movie. I put my demons in the blender, then I pour it down the sewage. Got a couple big boom, bitch, sweet me up like a sandwich. Sometimes I don't know what's in my mouth, sometimes I go manic. Got a review, I said red and blue, but it did not panic. Cruising will look like Mario Kart off Tab's ass. Welcome to the 27th episode, to be honest. I really hope I got that number right. You know what I'm saying? I got me a little list right here, you know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing changed for real. Happy Black History Month, first and foremost, to all my blacks, my homies, my brothers, my sisters. Shout out to y'all. This our month. Really, this our year, and we finna take over, finally. It's a new system coming, I heard, so. First thing I want to talk about tonight, that boy Wemby, he made some comments saying he wants to get other players to like really play hard in the All-Star game, and I really respect that. His attitude towards the game is really dope. It's very refreshing to see a young player who cares so much. Through his efforts, this is either going to be a really good All-Star game or he's going to bench himself, because he's like, these guys are not playing for real. They're not worth my time. And I hope it's the first option, because the second one makes just American players look bad. Even though it's not just American players, I feel like that's a bad look on America. Sorry, my phone just vibrated. That scared the heck out of me. I thought it was a freaking ghost. Yeah, so I'm excited for the All-Star game. I haven't watched recently because it's like, for what? But I'm gonna tune in this year. Next thing I want to talk about is hip hop versus ice. I was watching the Joe Budden podcast, and he brought this up. That's why I wanted to mention it too, to kind of echo what he was saying, because hip hop has always been a genre that was not afraid to shake up the system. But now it seems like hip hop has become intertwined with the system. That's a word, right? I think intertwined with the system. Mixed in with the system. I don't know what's going on with me tonight. It's scary. We have all these prominent stars. When you think of like Sexy Red, even Kendrick, I would never say Kendrick is compromised, but it's like he's just, it's like the company you keep. I'm not trying to call anyone out specifically. Kendrick, I don't know what his involvement is or what he's doing behind the scenes, which he could be doing a lot. I don't know. It's not about him. It's just about hip hop as a culture and as a whole being very silent when it is in our history to speak up and fight back against, certain things that are going against, maybe it's not necessarily impacting black people yet, but it's something that has the potential to impact us and is impacting other marginalized groups, other quote unquote minority groups. Are being treated unfairly, and like they say, a threat to justice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere, or something like that. It's unfortunate that hip hop has been so quiet. I think it's just so much money and big business, which is good that people can support themselves off this platform, but I think it's important to keep it, the foundation of the roots of hip hop, of like speaking out against certain stuff. And I'm someone who, I consider myself a part of that too, so it's not like I'm saying that I'm blameless in this. I could definitely use my time and my energy to, speak out against that. That's something on me that I got to do as well. Now I want to shout out, the schools back home. I was hearing some of my nephews, some of their schools were, going in protest. Some might not have followed through with it, but there were some protests going on against, the situations with ICE and, all the things they're able to get away with. So I thought that was really dope that kids, that young are finding a way to get involved, get their voices heard. So shout out and respect to y'all. That's really dope to see. I know I'm gonna be all over the place and I really sequence it out that well, but the next thing I want to talk about is Batman. I really enjoyed Robert Pattinson's Batman, and I saw something about the director, I believe his name is James Gunn, revealed that Robert Pattinson's Batman would never be a part of the DCU universe with all, like, I guess that's like the Justice League. In that case, it would be two different Batmen.
Okay, whatever. I only brought that up just to say, just to reiterate that I really enjoy Robert Pattinson's Batman and the stylistic contrast between him and like Christian Bale, because I love Christian Bale's Batman too. Christian Bale, he had the great voice. The look, the aesthetic of Christian Bale's was awesome. The Joker was awesome in it. Shout out to Heath Ledger. The action and the fighting scenes were just really good. I don't know what it was. Like he was really good with that. Robert Pattinson's, his not bad. It's not great though. But I think what he brings out in the Batman and his and their interpretation of Batman, it gets more into the detective side of Batman, which is really dope to see how he breaks down situations and how he, gathers information from that side. Just the whole emo Batman kind of vibe. Like I don't know, he pulled it off well, and I really wasn't expecting to enjoy it that much. I've watched the newest Batman a couple times, and it's really long, and I enjoy it. So if you haven't, check it out. Moving on from that, I saw a clip of Jack Dorsey, I guess the one of the co-founders of Twitter or the main founder of Twitter. He was speaking out about algorithms, social media algorithms, and how one can predict how it's moving or what it's going to show you next. It's kind of just like this void that just shoots anything out, and maybe a bad interpretation of what he said. So if you want to see, I would suggest you check it out. Excuse me. But the only reason I brought it up and thought it was interesting because I had a similar thought before seeing that video, which is crazy, of how the algorithm doesn't really allow your mind to grow. It kind of just puts you in this box of, okay, this is what you like. I'm going to keep giving you more and more of this. And then eventually I'll find something that's similar to what it is that you like and start feeding you that too. Kind of puts you in a fixed mindset. And one thing we learned growing up is having a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset. I feel like a growth mindset is trying new things, understanding that the challenges that come with that, and accepting that and growing through that, literally growing through that. A fixed mindset, you kind of just stick to what you like. And that's one thing I really don't like to see in people, a fixed mindset. Things are just the way they are, and there's nothing I can do about it, or I don't want to do anything about it. That's truly lame. It's cool, the algorithm is cool, it's a cool tool to utilize if you're a creator, but I would love to see changes to the algorithm. Just something that challenges us as people to be curious, to learn about new things, even if it's not exactly what we're looking for. Like literally just make me look at something new for like a day or two. Like why not? I think that would lead to a lot more growth and a lot more well-rounded people as a whole. Real quick, I just want to talk about the last episode I put out. It wasn't anything too crazy, but I didn't really go as far as like promoting it, posting it on socials, just with everything going on in the world right now, with obviously the Epstein stuff, the ICE situations going on. It's just been a really weird time, and I feel like as a whole, the world, at least as a nation, we just feel powerless because certain people in positions that are making these calls, and it's like, what can we do about it? People are losing their lives, and it's really unfortunate, and it's really unnecessary, and it's really a misuse of power, for lack of a better word. Very bad misuse of power. It's draining. It's a lot of stuff we're hearing each and every day about these prominent figures who we look to for support ultimately at the end of the day. And they're out here doing the most evil, insane stuff that you could possibly imagine. So it's just really a dark time in our country right now. So, as an escape from reality, somewhat, to just think about some other things that are not so pressing and so dire. Last thing I want to do is make this a Channel 12 news type of show where you're just receiving all this negative information or hearing about all these unfortunate and tragic events that just bring your vibrations down. But, you know, as much as I love to make the people laugh, entertain, and all that, and I'm sure most people don't even care about half the stuff I be talking about, but I definitely just want to use my platform, even if it's just a little bit at a time, to just bring awareness to, what's going on in the world. I just want to make more people aware, so at least it's not just, these certain people thinking about it. With awareness brings a decision. Ultimately, you can make a choice to stay ignorant, or you can go do the work, do your research, find ways to get involved, do what you got to do. And hopefully people take that route, and, I'll take my own advice to that too. Speaking of all of that, Bill Clinton is spilling all the beans. He's snitching. He was on that island living it up, doing whatever he want to do. He's calling for a public hearing concerning the Epstein files, and I think that's an interesting tactic because I feel like he definitely has, a couple ingredients in that Brunswick stew. You know what I'm saying? He's definitely was involved in some sense. I don't know if he feels like he gave them all the information. I don't know if he feels like he was able to cover up some of his involvement or what, but it's an interesting play. Definitely was involved, but it's almost like he's willing to throw himself into the fire as long as he can drag a couple more people with him. He's emphasizing the need for a public hearing, which obviously, yes, please do that. He brought up concerns of the Republican Party or whoever it may be wanting to do it behind closed doors with cameras and stuff like that, where information and things could be possibly manipulated and whatnot, amongst other concerns that may come with that. I definitely agree with the public hearing. I think that's the American people deserve that, as Bill was saying. And personally, I will be anxiously waiting for that. I don't tune too much into the news because I don't be trying to hear all that. But obviously, the world will be tuned into that. But what's crazy about this, especially with all this Epstein and ICE stuff going on, it's coming with interesting timing, as these things usually do. And one conspiracy that I've been like, kind of thinking more and more about, because it kind of aligns with streamers and stuff like that, and just the world as we know it is becoming more surveillanced. I know that's not a word either, but we going with the flow tonight. Recently saw a post about, like I said, the timing of this Epstein stuff, and how everyone's saying we need to do away with the system, burn it to the ground, all that, this and that. And I agree for the most part. I think that's probably the best thing to do at this point. We got to get these weirdos out of here. But the timing is very interesting. It's interesting that everyone wants these businessmen, these politicians, whatever they may be, propped up to the highest of levels. Obviously, Donald Trump, whoever else may be in that category you want to consider. They've been propped up so high to where they're almost invincible, right? And now these Epstein files are finally getting leaked. Finally, after years and years of trying to get them, we finally got them, and it's slowly coming out and pouring out. And everyone's, like I said, burn the system to the ground. So once we do that, then what's next? Do we just replace them with new people? How do we know that, this lineage doesn't dig deep, and that these new people that we install won't just ultimately end up doing, if not the same thing, something quite possibly just as bad, or, just evil in the first place? It seems to be all setting the stage for digital control, where there's 1,000,001 cameras everywhere. There's not a single place or space you can go to where you're not completely, able to be tracked, and someone is able to see exactly what you're doing. That's why I brought up the streamers and stuff. Recently was having a conversation with a friend, was saying how, streamers and stuff, it's a cool thing to, do. And if you can get popping with it, that's really dope. But it's normalizing this thing of being on camera and having people be able to see your every move, and being okay with that. And the steady but like sudden explosion of attention that has come to streaming, and how big it's gotten, mix that in with, all these corrupt people at the top, and we clearly want to and need to get rid of them, is kind of setting the stage for, like I said, that age of digital control, that age of surveillance. And it's like that new movie Mercy came out, where there's some sort of program system AI thing that is basically like the judge and the executioner, the jurors, all that in one, and it's freaking AI. and you have to be your own lawyer and defend yourself. And I didn't see the movie. I don't know if bro killed whoever, but he had to basically go out and be his own lawyer and use the system to prove his innocence. As much stuff that's going on today as they put in movies, you just think, wow, how did they even think of that? And then you see it in real life, and it's like, wow, that's not just a movie. That's real life. What's going on right now, what you see on TV, it's not just TV. It's not just fantasy of like, oh, they thought of that. That's so crazy. However, did they come up with that? It's real life and it's happening in front of our faces. It's terrifying. I don't want some sort of all-knowing, omnipotent, whatever you want to call it, like AI system that governs my existence. Like at the very least, we have to find some sort of medium in that. And I hope we, as a society, can do that. Completely doing a whole 180. I know y'all be watching the NBA, some of y'all at least. I seen recently there was a fight between the Pistons and the Hornets. I think it was Jalen Duren from the Pistons and whoever else. I don't know, but they got into a whole fight, teams fighting, benches getting cleared. The cameras cut to Duncan Robinson. He's just looking up in the air, walking the opposite direction of the brawl. And you could just tell by his face and his body language, he was like, I cannot believe the niggatry that I am experiencing right now. And it was so funny because I completely relate to that experience. But at the same time, he probably doesn't want to be in Detroit. He was in Miami living it up. Now he's in Detroit. That stinks. You can just look at him and tell he's not much of a brawler, but you're on a new team. You gotta try and assimilate a little bit. At least try and break somebody up from fighting. You can't just walk away like your teammate grade. I don't care if you dropped 50 that night. If you did that during the game, your teammate grade is probably going to drop to like a D, F range. And your teammates are going to look at you a little sideways after seeing a clip like that. Because it's like you just think you're above all this. Like, nah, bro, you're not in Miami anymore, bro. You're going to have to get down or get put down. No, I'm just playing. It ain't that deep, but at the end of the day, stick up for your teammates at the very least. But I get it though. It's probably over nothing. That's how it be sometimes. And keeping it in sports, I love my Philadelphia Eagles. I didn't even give a breakdown of how the season ended for us. Very bad, but I don't want to talk about it. But I saw a journalist or reporter that covers the Eagles bring up a very interesting question of if you had to pick one, whether it be Jalen Hurts or AJ Brown, who would you go with? And I can't remember the reporter's name, but I know he went with AJ Brown, and I'm gonna have to echo that sentiment. But he's a bit of a weirdo, and I feel like as a quarterback, you can't be a weirdo. Like all the great quarterbacks, Peyton Manning, I don't see him as a weirdo. Tom, I don't see as a weirdo. Aaron, he was a weirdo. He won. He was one of the greats, but underachieved. And I feel like Jalen may be in a similar boat as Aaron Rodgers, to where like he's not as talented, but he has so much talent around him, and for whatever reason, he just can't get it done. And not to say it's because he's a weirdo, but I just think it's certain things about his character. Um, Not his character. I don't want to bring up his character because I think he's really great in that department, but something about his play style is not conducive to analyzing the defense, going through his progressions, and knowing when to get out of the pocket and scramble or just move, get his feet where going in the pocket, go through his progressions and get to the right receiver in the right timing. He also struggles with like throwing receivers open. I know it's not easy. The Eagles played the Chargers this season in that zone. He could do nothing with it. And I don't want to sit here and blame Kevin Patullo because there was many instances where a receiver was open or the play was there to be made, and either Jalen or the receivers didn't make it. So I don't want to sit here and blame Kevin Patullo for the offense. I think some of it was on him, but not all on him. I think players got to make plays at the end of the day. And I think AJ still has a lot left in the tank. And I would love to see him be utilized in the right way, but I'm not sure if Jalen can do that. He's just inconsistent. I know he has the skills, he has the talent to put the ball where it needs to be, but he just doesn't always do it. He makes some bad decisions sometimes, errant throws, and it leaves you scratching your head because you know he can do it, but just sometimes he doesn't. So if I had to choose, I'd say probably AJ, but I want to see Jalen Hurts do good, and I know he can do good. So I just hope he takes that step. He understands where he messed up this season, and that he can elevate next season. And that's all I'll say about that. I feel like this has been a great episode. We're gonna close out again. Happy Black History Month. I want to shout out Lonnie Johnson, who apparently just got $72.9 million in unpaid royalties for his patent, his invention of the Super Soaker from Hasbro. I guess they were selling his stuff and not giving him, his just due. So, and I heard about this story before, but it's good to hear that he got paid. I hope that's a real story. I hope I didn't just get hoodwinked. Shout out to you, Lonnie Johnson, because you made a lot of our childhoods great, just like many black leaders, black creators throughout the years. So thank God for being black. Deuces. 27th episode, to be honest, in the books. I appreciate you. Have a blessed night, and may all your dreams come true.